Hey gang, it's Seth. Um, I just want to, I guess, vent a bit, but also talk about this. It's a couple things in one. The first, I guess, the most important point I want to take anyone to take away from is if you're a military veteran, if you know a military veteran, if a politician is a military veteran, they're not above reproach. They're not above skepticism. They're not above criticism. They're not above being called out for things that are unpatriotic or un-American. And I'm not even going to go into this one because that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking more about the concept. This is just what is getting the conversation going. So I'm going to talk about two things. One is very just point blank and simple. Military members are humans, and humans do things like commit crimes. That may surprise some people for some reason. So the very short end of that is, for example, I know a Marine who worked out in the SRB section. Decent enough Marine, quiet dude. I remember portholes, had big old thick Coke bottle glasses. We'd come back, so he wasn't from my direct unit, but come back on the weekend, find out he stabbed some dude at a party over some chick. That's just what, it happens. Not everybody in the military is wonderful. Now that's more direct, so I'm going to go into a story. I've done a couple videos where I talked about it, and I'm still only going to talk briefly about it. So when we were working up for our second deployment, a buddy of mine, Scott, was dating a girl he didn't know was dating another guy in another unit. We'll say Scott, my buddy, and Douchebag is the other guy. Douchebag sneaks into my buddy's barracks, Scott's barracks, at night and proceeds while he's asleep to pull him down on the ground and beat him. Now, again, for some context, big dude, Marine. For some other context, Scott was a cross-country runner. He was a Marine. He could do Marine things, but he was not the Marine who was going to be doing 50 pull-ups. He was the Marine who would do exactly 20 and then run 3 miles in 15 minutes and then run back with people. That was him. The other douchebag was not. He was just a big dude. So again, as I'm thinking about it, I hear they had the 2 bedrooms where you usually had a roommate, and then we would share the bathroom. So he was here, and I could hear the rack hitting the wall. I'm thinking he's banging, moving, or something, whatever. So I go in. Long story short is that guy's beating the crap. Again, I said that in the other video. Maybe one day I won't show pictures. Maybe, I don't know if I blur out his face or something. The point is, it was very bad. Now, this is before the deployment. While all this is happening, I mentioned in another video, the commands in the military will try to bury things, because if there is something big, crap rolls downhill and people get relieved of duty. No one wants that. Now, instead of, again, there's one way you could look at it. Oh man, this happened under my watch, I'll handle it. Or B, this happened under my watch, I have to suppress and bury everything and hopefully sweep it under enough rugs that it doesn't come back and affect me. And I also have to get everyone below me to do the same thing, because if I roll down, they roll down, rolls down on them too, so they better get with suppressing this too. It's easier that way. And that's what they tried to do. We ended up deploying. En route there, they actually started the court-martial and flew Scott and I back with Douchebag and Douchebag's staff NCO. I'm going to call him Plant because that's his name, because he's a piece of shit. Now, they sent us with so me and my buddy Scott with Douchebag and Plant, and Plant is in charge of us because he outranks us. So that's what we call normal people call a conflict of interest. So this guy's coming to testify against me and Scott, essentially, on behalf of Douchebag, and he's also in charge of us while we're there. When all the dust settles, My units deployed, Scott's units deployed. Court-martial's over. They find him having done nothing wrong. He gets off scot-free. What they do is, for me personally, I had it easy. They sent me back to Iraq. My command crapped all over me until I left the unit. And the first thing they did when we got back in country after our deployment was got rid of me. Dumped me off to wherever they could get rid of me. Scott. During this court-martial, again, so we're in California, our units deployed, and our command is being very odd with us, obviously, because they don't want to talk to us because they hate us, and their plant is very weird at communicating with us, and it was just a weird situation. So during all of this, Scott's direct chain of command is like, we're good, we support you. We would, everything is good. We, if we know what's going on, we'll let you know. We would never turn our back on you. Now, also, while we say that to you, what we did was cut your lock, sent all your stuff back to the unit that we already sent you to, and crapped all over your pros and cons, made sure in any formal paperwork we could do to negatively affect what you did, which was get beat up for not knowing you were doing something with a girl who knew what she was doing. He got blasted, and I got blasted, but I consider it worse because his command just lied. They knew the whole time what they were doing. They were literally burying him halfway across the continent while he was testifying in a court-martial that almost killed him. So, when all is said and done, Scott and I get out of the Marines with subpar ranks, fractious experiences. He almost died not in combat. He almost died at the hands of another Marine who then goes on to deploy with our unit while Scott gets sent back in trouble. Douchebag gets sent with our command. Good job. You're here. Let's go. I get crapped on by the unit. This is what happens. When all is said and done, that Marine is going to be more decorated than Scott and I. Douchebag who assaulted another Marine to the point where I think he would have killed him had I not walked in. That Marine is valorous, decorated, has better pros and cons, written histories, interactions. Me and Scott left the Marines. That guy stayed in after we got out. Think about that. That's the way the system works. It's not awful and it's not great. There are cracks in every system. But just because you know someone served, when I go to pay for food, if they say, veteran discount, I show them my ID. They're like, oh, you don't have to. I'm like, I know I don't. But look at it, because there's a veteran or a person will come in 20 minutes later and say I'm a veteran and not be a veteran, who will take advantage of systems like that. And there are people who served very similar to Scott Duggar. Scott Duggar and Robert Plant. Scott Duggar is the coward who assaulted another Marine in a room, and Gunnery Sergeant Robert Plant is the piece of shit who covered for him. And then, I'm not going to list any more names aside from who was the colonel. Colonel Boudreaux, Colonel piece of shit Boudreaux, who buried us in favor of Scott Duggar, who physically assaulted a Marine to the point that he would have died. And 2 Marines get buried and their careers, I don't want to say, I don't know if they were ruined or if it just soured the experience so much that we just didn't want to deal with it anymore. I don't know. Who knows in hindsight? I would have to sit back and actually reflect on that. I'm sure it's a combination of events, but just think about that. And that Marine piece of shit Scott Duggar and piece of shit Gunnery Sergeant Robert Plant do this and get away with it. It's amazing. So, when you have someone telling you, you can't talk to me because I served, yes, you can. Now, you may want to ask them questions. I'm not saying don't believe them. I'm not saying tell them they're a liar, but you can be skeptical. But regardless of if they went to Iraq and did things, that doesn't mean they get to come here and tell you things that they have no business saying because they're entitled to it. It doesn't mean they came back with a right to say things that you have to accept. Because I wouldn't accept it from another veteran, not from Vietnam, not from Korea, not from Iraq, not from Kuwait, not from ones who didn't serve, not from other branches. Wouldn't happen. But I don't think they would, most generally speaking, have issues with that because it's something we understand. But you all need to, because this is part of, the civilian side of things. Um, it kind of felt good getting that out because I haven't talked about that in so long. And now it's sad because I don't know. None of those Marines talk to me anymore. I was thinking about that the other day. I went to Scott's, not piece of shit Scott Duggar, Scott's wedding. And I can't recall which one of his relatives, but they said something like, "Thanks, like you saved Scott's life." I don't know if I ever did. Like, I never, I didn't go in there thinking I'm gonna save this dude's life. So I guess I never thought about it like that. But I don't know. It's just it. I don't know. I don't know. Man, I just wish things were different. I don't know. I'm gonna go. I got a lot to think about. Take it easy, gang.